Island, a punch and to keep it on dry land. At least I might try, man. Up with the 5 and might use the trap, man. I got a check, man. Line single ball speed, rated that batsman. And where that ball
welcome to another episode of On the Screws podcast. This week we are joined by PGA Tour touring professional caddy Billy Spencer.
Hey guys, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, really appreciate you coming on. We're gonna hop right into it. I know you got a couple things going on, Billy, and I was talking to Bryce just before you hopped on. I've had this burning question all day, so I figured I would jump right in, ask you this one because it's been on my mind. I will introduce you to Bryce, by the way. This is my partner, Bryce, here. But what's the strangest thing that you've ever found or been asked to put into a bag before?
I mean, I guess when I first started putting like baby wipes in there.
Okay.
That was one thing I was like, what? But as you get older, you start to understand a little bit more why that might be important. Yeah. Maybe shoelaces, extra shoelaces.
Okay.
I wasn't a big fan of carrying that, but I mean, it only weighs a little bit, so no big deal. But yeah, I kind of have my own rule. Anything that's in the bag, you can put anything you want in the bag, but if it doesn't get used in about a 5 or 6 week period, I'll find a way to get it out of the bag.
I like it.
So all the different training aids and all the nonsense, we can try it, but if you don't use it for 6 weeks, it's out of there.
Cool. Okay, you can see behind me on my chair, maybe there. I have a little bit of experience on the PGA Tour Canada this year. So it was extremely hot, like middle of July, playing at Osprey Valley up here, and I was loading up my friend's bag like he was playing. So I had way too much stuff in there, and he told me that, but I paid for it. Had to go buy some new shoes by the second day, and it was a good time. It was a good time. But yeah, welcome to On the Screws podcast. This is kind of just a great podcast that we just connect with a bunch of different players, companies, brands, anything really. Bryce and I have been doing this about a year now, and really appreciate you coming on. I know you're from the area and you're living down I'm based just east of Toronto. Bryce is in Michigan now, and you're in the Dallas area, correct?
Yeah. I grew up in Aurora, just north of Toronto. Been in Dallas the last 13 years. I still have a place up in Toronto, so I get up there as much as I can back and forth. But this is sort of where I spend the majority of my off weeks is down here just north of Dallas.
Perfect. So right before Bryce jumps in, just wanted to say congrats. Anybody who's checking out the pod, we're all kind of golfers here. So Billy's on the bag here for Sungjae Im, and you guys just won the Shriners a couple weeks ago. So quick congrats to that. And Bryce, go ahead. Go nuts. I appreciate your patience, man.
Yeah, you're good. I just also had a burning question, kind of like Mac did, but I was more patient. So I want to cover the language barrier with him. I mean, is it tough? Is his English good, or how does that kind of work?
Yeah, well, I mean, excuse me. His English is a lot better than my Korean, so that's we got to start with we got to go English for sure. It's fine. I mean, we haven't had a situation yet where we've had an issue as far as communicating on the golf course. Maybe some of the stuff, pre-round and post-round can get a little choppy trying to figure out, maybe where to meet or, stuff like that. It limits the conversation on the golf course, basically, how's your hotel room and where did you eat dinner? And, you kind of ask that every day and that's about the same. But yeah, no, the communication's fine. I mean, he has a pretty good understanding. I mean, I think for him, he understands the words, he understands the language. He doesn't necessarily have a grasp how to maybe, speak to somebody that he's not comfortable being around. But for me, yeah, he can kind of chop it around with me, and we'll figure, I'll kind of help him out a little bit and kind of teach him some of what people are meaning and stuff like that. So yes, it's not bad at all.
Yeah, like I was saying, it's like when you're on the course, I've been in that position where I kind of hopped on somebody's bag late, and it was very much so like, okay, talk about yardages, and that was about it. Like, pass the book, talk about a few of those things. Does he rely on you quite a bit on the course for like your knowledge with the yardages, or does he have his own book that he goes by?
No, we work together on it. The hardest thing probably is that he uses meters. And so, yeah. I mean, I've been in this business for over 20 years and I've never worked for a player in meters before. So now we get our books in meters. So there's no other than converting the pin sheet, which is pretty simple. I mean, 10%, if it's on 27, I put it on as 24. That stuff's pretty easy, but, visually it's difficult. 200 meters is 220 yards.
Right.
When you play golf and you do this a lot, you kind of know what 200 looks like. And so when you call out 200, you're thinking 200, well, it's, maybe a 5 or a 6 iron, but really it's 220 yards. And now you're thinking it's like a 3 or a 4. So, that's one part for me that I've got it down now, but those first few weeks was a bit visually was difficult. But he's got a book. I've got a book. We get numbers together, make sure we're within the ballpark, talk about where he wants to land the ball, and, off we go.
So how long have you been on Sungjae's bag? Because I had a look, and like you've been on dozens of players' bags. How long have you been working with Sungjae?
I started for Sungjae right after the U.S. Open at Rocket Mortgage. Okay. So we played a few weeks, took a week or two off, then played 6 in a row, starting at the Olympics, finishing at the Tour Championship, then had 3 weeks off through the Ryder Cup, and then got back at it in Jackson and went Jackson, Vegas, these last 3.
Okay.
Speaking of Rocket Mortgage, quick, are you guys going this upcoming year? Have you thought about that far in the future?
I don't know his schedule moving forward, but I would imagine because of where it sets in the calendar, it's a pretty good fit. It's kind of squeezed in, if I remember, right around the Canadian Open, which is an easy commute, and then kind of away from the majors, which, taking the week off before major and kind of maybe flying in a few days early is sort of the way to kind of do it, in my opinion. So that I think that Rocket Mortgage is in a nice spot on the calendar for sure.
Okay. The reason I ask is I'm just 40 minutes down the road, so.
Oh yeah.
Come check it out.
No, it's a great. I've been there. What have they had? 3 of them there. I've been there all 3, I believe. If they've only had 3, so yeah, no, it's a fun tournament. It's a good golf course. If you can get in there without, just kind of roll through the red lights and just kind of cruise on in there, and you can get into the parking lot, you're winning already. So it's but yeah, no, for sure. Once you get inside the gates there, that's a pretty cool place to play golf.
Mm.
Yeah, and it's not too bad, Billy. You would know, like that's not too bad for us here. That's a little over 4 hours or so. And then, what do you guys think about the Canadian Open? Is that on your radar this year?
Yeah, I believe it is. Yeah.
Okay.
If it's not, I'm going to make sure I sell it pretty good. So it'd be a great golf course for him. At St. George's, ball striker golf course, make a ton of birdies, probably shooting the 20s when it's all said and done. But yeah, I mean, obviously that's an important week for me,
Of course. I imagine the course will play a little bit like this past weekend too, getting into the mid-20s. And like we know, anybody listening to this podcast that's a fan of golf knows like Sungjae is one of the best ball strikers on tour, right? And it's close, and we hope to see him in a major. Like Bryce and I have talked about that a little bit about some of our around some of our majors. He's been a pick of mine a couple times. We just do like weekly picks and whatnot. But can we chat a little bit about the Olympics? Can you just let us know what that experience was like? Like you guys head over and he finished T22, which in that field, he definitely wants to be winning that tournament. But how was it for you? Like how was the course? How was the event? Like that's a once in a lifetime experience.
Yeah, no, it definitely was a once in a lifetime experience. It was unfortunate, with the restrictions that they had in place. We were sort of limited to the golf course and a resort that we stayed at. We didn't stay in the village. It was too far away, anywhere between, an hour and 5 and 2 hours with traffic. So we were in a resort about 30 minutes away, and kind of limited to just, golf course and resort. But yeah, no, it was an awesome experience. Most of the players that were in the field are guys that we see weekly, representing their countries. The U.S. team, obviously all tour guys, Sweden, Canada. But there were some guys that, play in Europe that we don't see very often. And then some guys that played for some countries that, I didn't even know they played, that these guys even had the world ranking. So it was an awesome experience. The Olympics, Japan did a great job. The golf course was awesome. I would never turn down that opportunity again. I think it was one of the cooler things I've been able to do, doing this job. So yeah, I know for sure.
Yeah, I think it was called like Kasumigaseki. We had to work on that one quite a few times before getting on live. But what a cool experience. I think that would just be obviously like we had a couple of good Canadians like Mac Hughes and Corey Connors are two of the top players Corey Connors is one of the top players in the world now, right? So kind of nice to see them showing there, and we're both big Xander fans. Like Bryce is rolling the same putter, so it's nice to see him come through and get that win. You kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but in the past, like as a caddy, and obviously hasn't come up with Sungjae, but how do you deal with like a difference of opinion on the course? So do you kind of defer that to the player's idea? Like I'm not talking like tin cup here or whatever, but like if you're, thinking about a certain club and the player wants to do something different, how do you guys go about, coming up with a resolution between the two of you?
Usually it's we try to stick to the same, or I try to kind of stick to the same process or the same presentation on every shot. Gather the number, confirm that we're on the same page, and more times than not, he'll pull a club, and these guys are so good that with every club they've got a 15-yard range.
Right.
Maybe the eight can go anywhere between 50 and 65. So I might be thinking seven, he pulls eight, but he's the artist. He's the one drawing the painting. He sees the shot. And if he's seeing, a hard hook and I'm seeing a high cut, he pulls eight. I know it's okay. If he hits a certain shot, I leave him alone. If he's off by a little bit more than that, where I'm like, ooh, this seems like it's too much, then it happened a little bit last week at CJ. You're playing at some altitude and the heat gets going, and maybe you get a little breeze downwind and you're just going, man, this, I know it's 200, but man, this is playing, he pulls five and it's like, man, this is playing short. You can get six there kind of thing. And that's probably the extent of it. I mean, I've tried to do it with all my players. Like I've tried to let them, I think they're better off pulling the club and being committed to the shot than, me chirping about something else, and indecision creeps in. And, I think it's better to let them kind of do, unless you think they're going to drive the truck right off the side of the road. And then it's like, whoa,
Well, yeah.
let's start this over again.
Sorry,
Have you ever
Bryce,
had any players kind of pull a club and you were kind of like, I don't know about that one?
Yeah, no, it happens. I mean, it happened last week where, you're kind of in between and, it's a par three and you got something long that you can't be there and the pin's in the back and you're like, ooh, this seems like a lot of club. But you also know that, I make sure hey, this is only going to place, whatever the yardage is. Yeah. Make sure, you got to take a little bit off this or something. But yeah, you're kind of like, oh boy, I'm not sure if I like this or not. But, you got to kind of let them go. I mean, I think, if you ask any of these guys, I mean, I think they'd rather hit a good shot with the wrong club than a bad shot with the right club. At least that way, they flagged it. They have some confidence. I mean, it might be a bit short or a bit long, but as opposed to standing over a club that they're not sold on and they just hit a trash shot off to the right or something like that and make bogey, and then they're like, what am I doing here?
The one that made me think of that was I was kind of looking a couple things up and I saw you had carried for Hank Keeney in the past. So I know that like back in the day, like I'm a bit of an older guy. I know he was a super long player, one of the longest, if not the longest player on tour at the time. So that's what kind of made me think about that and some of the dynamics of I don't know. I've got to walk a little bit of it, so I was just kind of curious how you would sort that out between the two of you. Sorry, Bryce, I cut you off. Go ahead, man.
No, you're good. You kind of touched on it there. Can you go over a couple of guys that you have caddied in the past, and just because Mac was saying you've caddied for 24 years, I think it is now. So
yeah, no, I've been out since kind of the late '90s. Sungjae, I worked for Jason Bohn forever, probably 12 or 13 years. I worked for Bohn Pelt for probably 3 and change, almost 4. And then a few weeks to fill in for guys. I mean, or a couple of 6-month deals. Gary Woodland, Daniel Berger, Russell Henley. So, I mean, for being out there as long as I haven't worked for a ton of guys. There's some guys that have worked for dozens and dozens. I think I'm at like 7 or 8 guys, and 2 of them take up 2/3 of the time I've been out there. So I haven't bounced around much. But yeah, it's a funny business. You never know when your last day is going to be with the player. You don't know how it all works behind the scenes with them and their agents and families and all that. But I've been pretty fortunate to, only have a few bosses over the years.
I was just kind of thinking back, like obviously you grew up playing golf, or in the golf world we're kind of all hockey players up here, so we naturally kind of gravitate to golf in the summer. Growing up, was there anybody you looked at? Like, did you have a favorite player then? Like, you're a Canadian, was it kind of Mike Weir, or was there somebody else that you kind of wanted to model your game after?
No, not really. I mean, I played. I mean, I was decent. I mean, I could shoot some good scores when I worked at it. But as soon as I kind of started caddying, I didn't have the time
Right.
to sort of work on my game. And as the years have gone on, obviously, like, my mind still says or still believes that I can shoot these scores, but the reality is I can't because I don't practice.
Yeah,
And
like
so,
I feel like that would be so difficult as a caddy, being like, I'm seeing all of this, I'm learning all of this knowledge, but I can't, like you said, I can't paint that picture, right? I can't like put this in motion here. It would be hard kind of translating, all of the knowledge that you have to the ability that you might have as well. You're caddying for some of the best players in the world, and it's hard to kind of compete with that level, right? But I was just kind of curious if there might have been somebody, but you mentioned you've been around 24 years. So has there been kind of a highlight for you? Have you hit a peak where you were kind of like, this is the best it gets. This is kind of the coolest thing as a a PGA Tour caddy?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, winning is winning. That's obviously a good feeling. But really, the Olympics was pretty cool. I mean, it really was. I think anytime you get to Augusta is a pretty cool experience. I haven't been there enough times to kind of be over it yet.
Yeah.
So each time for me there is still a pretty cool experience. And the British Open for me, especially some of the, I guess they've all got history. They're all older, places and been around, but like the St. Andrews
Right.
and the Carnousties of the world, like the ones up in Scotland, those are pretty cool experiences as well.
Yeah, I haven't got my rejection letter yet. We're hoping to go next year, but I've gotten it for the Masters just like every year, but have not been rejected for the Open yet. So be playing at St. Andrews 150 years, so that'd be pretty cool. Do you get to keep the bib when you're there at Augusta?
No, that's if you win. I think some of the guys that recently have started to take the overalls. They've taken everything. They take the overalls, they'll take the flag, they take the pin. I mean, they've taken it all.
Yeah.
I think they're kind of letting their guard down a little bit for that kind of stuff. But in the past, you get the flag. That's the most. I mean, for me, that's the flag is what that's kind of our trophy.
For sure.
The player gets their trophy. Our trophy's the flag. And bring it home, get it framed, put it up on the wall in the office, and it's just another one to add to the list.
You hear some pretty crazy rumors and stuff, or whatever it may be, just about how kind of close and tight knit they keep it there, right? So like I think I was listening to like Max Homa was saying, like, first time he was there, he was grabbing like handfuls of tees and stuff like that off the driving range, ball markers, and Jason Day steals all the ball markers, they said. So I thought that was pretty funny. Sorry, Bryce, I keep cutting you off, man.
No, you're good. I just kind of wanted you to go over like a day in a life, like maybe like week of a tournament, going into like Monday, like kind of how it starts, and then going into Thursday, what you guys like, how you practice, how you prepare.
So usually like a Monday would be a travel day, whether it's the one in the middle of a run of tournaments or the first one. Occasionally, I guess if it's the beginning of a stretch, maybe I'd leave on a late Sunday night flight, maybe the last one into town, so I'm there Monday morning. But Monday's pretty low key, not much going on. Walk the golf course. I've obviously been to all of them that we play for the most part. The odd new venue is, maybe it requires a little bit more work walking around, but walk 18 holes on Monday, kind of get a understand of what's going on. With Sungjae, it's funny, just with communication, I'll think of a place where I can meet him, where I can just use one word, whether it's like parking lot, locker room, clubhouse, just so we can, we're not running around looking for each other on Tuesday morning. Yeah. Tuesday's practice day, usually just 9 holes. The Pro-Ams, thankfully, have been changed from 18 to 9-hole Pro-Ams on tour. So that allows us to only have to play 9 on Tuesday. Now, we'll play the 9 on Tuesday that we're not playing on Wednesday for the Pro-Am. Do some practice, play 9 holes, maybe do a little practice after. And then Pro-Am day, he's an early morning Wednesday guy. Usually, we've had some beauty early times, like 6:40 and 6:50. So get out there, do the 9-hole Pro-Am, get done about 9:30, maybe some breakfast, hit some more balls, done by noon, and then get ready for Thursday.
You're taking care of the bag, I guess, right, Billy? So like, Does he take it with him back to the room, or are you kind of getting everything prepped? Like I've heard stories of, like Tiger Woods, the U.S. Open, rolling putts, and then Steve Williams grabbed the bag, not realizing he's got 3 balls left in the bag, and like Tiger down to his last last ball, winning the U.S. Open on. Like, how does that work for you guys? Like, do you guys kind of get together at night, sort of prep things, get it ready, or I don't know why the bag fascinates me and all the different things that you would put in there, but like as a caddy, it just seems like it would be, I don't know, almost like your kind of like prized possession on the course, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, we're allowed limited access to the locker room,
Right.
and then each week there's a designated bag storage area that's kind of it's guarded, it's locked up. So typically, like part of the deal on Monday is I'll get his clubs, set it all up, and make sure we've got what we need for Tuesday, and then at the end of each day, I'll make sure we have what we need in there as far as like balls and tees and gloves for the rest of the week. And then if it, based on the weather, if we're looking at a day where we might rain, I've got access to his locker for rain gear and umbrella. If it's not going to rain, leave the rain gear and the umbrella in the locker. Maybe send a reminder, hey, it's going to be freezing tomorrow morning, pack a sweater kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or bring a sweater. But that's about it. At the end of the day, get rid of all the old balls and all the old stuff in the bag, restock it to where, he carries a dozen ones, twos, and threes, and then marked out fours for putting. So he's got 9 balls to play with. Make sure, a glove each day, and just kind of make extra towel and go from there.
Is there any like kind of, well, you've been on tour a long time now, but is there any like unique or weird rules that you can think of that the PGA Tour puts in place for what you can have in the bag or can't have in the bag?
It's funny. I know that you can't carry an extra head for a club, which is the oddest thing. So, like, I know, like, if you're messing around with drivers, and let's say you've got like a 9.5 and a 10.5, and you're putting it on the same shaft, you can't. I'm pretty sure, and they might have changed. They keep changing all these rules, and nobody really knows anymore. But back in the day, you could. It was a penalty if you teed off because they would consider that to be a club.
Okay.
And then the other thing is, like with the lasers and the rangefinders, obviously we can't use them except for the PGA, but just to make sure you don't have the ones with slope on it. But like even I carry a massage gun on the outside of the golf bag. I mean, it's a sponsorship deal for him. So I carry like he's gonna kill me if I get the name wrong, but I think it's like a Theragun.
Yeah.
And it's on the back, it's on the side of the bag, it's hooked on, it's a Theragun right on it, and you're allowed to, in the past you could never use that.
Okay.
And now you can.
Okay.
So,
Does he ever use it? Have you ever used it?
Yeah, well, it qualifies for the 6-week rule. He uses it just enough every 6 weeks that it doesn't come off. Well, plus he's under contract, so
Yeah.
I think I'd probably get some heat if I took it off anyways. But no, he does use it enough to justify carrying it around for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that happened with DJ just a couple weeks ago. He broke his driver, and then he was playing 2 3-woods. I think I think he had a lower degree 3-wood that he was playing in his bag. He just didn't have one set up or prepped, which I thought was kind of interesting, that like in the truck or whatever. But I guess once you sort of set the bag for the day, that's your bag, that's what you're going with, right? So
Well, yeah, because trucks leave, I think, after Wednesday, if I'm correct.
Yeah, the trucks. I think the bylaw for the tour, the trucks got to be off property by 2:00. So, but
Okay.
they really start shutting down and breaking down the trucks probably around lunchtime on Wednesday. So you've got until that point to sort of get anything that you need. Most guys carry backup drivers. In a case like I've been out with a guy who broke his driver, and he's able to, call an official. The official will run to the locker room if he's got the shaft or the head or a full driver there. As long as he didn't break it in anger, as long as he broke it actually just playing golf and hitting a shot, they'll run it out to him, and that's a legal substitution. But you snap something over your knee because you're pissed, you're out of luck.
Yeah, that's crazy though. Even like guys, like I know it's rare, but if a guy has to hit a ball like off the cart path and put a big gouge in his wedge or something, they can't. There's nothing you can do. You just got to deal with it for the rest of the week.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't recall. I remember times where trying to search out the local like golfsmith or golf superstore, looking for see if they got a 60 laying around or a 7-iron, because we've got, we hit one out of the desert and we've got a big gouge in the center of it. But that's pretty much it. You just that's kind of your stuff for the rest of the week. And if you can, the companies are pretty good. Obviously, if you had a problem on a Thursday, if you put a call into them, they could probably overnight you something. And, it's probably not going to be the same, but it's close, and hopefully, you could get it in play on Friday or Saturday. But yeah, that's about it.
Is Sungjae like a pretty particular guy with his clubs? Like I know some guys really are, some aren't, but is Sungjae like one of those guys?
He's not a big club changer.
Okay.
He'll replace his wedges every couple of months. The irons haven't been changed as far as I know for a long time. The driver, really, he doesn't really switch much, doesn't really test much, has what he likes. Obviously it works pretty good for him. New grips, new wedges are the big thing. You need the spin. They can control it so well that they need fresh wedges every 6-8 weeks, which is probably reasonable compared to, the amount of balls that these guys hit.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's probably really the biggest change is just, ordering a couple wedges, probably after every trip.
Okay. Before we let you go, Billy, I gotta ask you. Obviously, we're big Tiger Woods fans here, Bryce and I, and I'm sure you are as well. Have you ever kind of been on the bag and been in a group with Tiger or anything like that? Like I'm sure that, even being around the game a long time, that there's some polarizing players. Have you ever been kind of caught off guard by a player where you're like, oh, this is Jack or this is Tiger? Any stories that you could share about one of those guys?
Yeah, no, I've been out with Tiger a bunch. Actually, when I worked for Hank Keeney, back late 90s, early 2000s, he practiced and played at Isleworth, which is where Tiger was a member.
Okay.
Back then. And so they would practice together a little bit. So obviously I was around him kind of in a non-competitive environment. And then I've been paired with him a bunch of times. I think we were second last or last group in DC one year. He smoked us. I mean, I think he shot 6 or 7 and won by 5. Played with him at the Players once on Sunday, Mother's Day, when he first started getting hurt, and his back was bothering him, and he WD'd on the 5th tee.
Right.
So we had, we were 10 people deep for 5 holes, and he walked in after a tee shot on 5, and I mean, on the 6th green, all was around was my players' parents. So that was, kind of the crowd cleared out pretty quick. But yeah, that's, being out with him is pretty cool. Way better being with him than kind of being the group in front of him. So you want to be in the middle of it as opposed to out in front. Out in front, people are running up on you, and you got carts and cops and all the nonsense. Another one would have been at Augusta, and I don't remember what year it was. It was a practice round, and we hit one pretty far right on 18 into the mag trees over on the right, and we're over there looking for our ball, and Arnold Palmer sitting there in his cart with his green coat on, just by himself, and he's like, "I got it. It's just over here." And that was kind of like, I kind of had to do a double take, like, wow, yeah. But you'd see him at Bay Hill all the time, but you kind of expected to see him at Bay Hill. You didn't expect to see him, walking through the trees at Augusta looking for a golf ball, and all of a sudden he's just kind of sitting there going, "Yeah, it's over here." So
yeah, for sure.
That's probably the one time where I was like, kind of give it the double take. But
yeah, a friend of mine mentioned the same thing. He's on the pod in the past. He works with Score Golf, and he mentioned that he was in the parking lot at Bay Hill, and he kind of like looked and saw a bag, and he could kind of make out that it said Palmer on it, and then like I guess he kind of poked his head around, and he was like, that's Arnold Palmer. So he kind of like waited a second, and then it looked like he got the invite, so they just went and chatted. And we got a beer sponsor on the podcast here, and the same thing, they mentioned like he used to be a partner with Arnold Palmer with Quagmire Golf back in the day. So so he was kind of mentioning just how cool he was, and it seems that the more and more of the weeks we go on, the more personalities we talk to, Arnold Palmer's always kind of a common denominator on one of the nice guys on tour, right? But if we can ask you, I love asking this question. I know you got to hop off here in a minute, but if you had a dream foursome that you could play with, anybody, could be celebrities, family, golfers, anything. Do you have anybody that you might want to get out and shoot around with?
Yeah, I'd go with my dad, my kid, and Tiger.
Perfect. That's
Yeah,
I love
that'd
it.
be a blast.
I've asked that question before, and I've kind of stumped people, and I figured I didn't need to give you a heads up on that one. Like I know I've
No,
asked
no.
we had a girl on who's been on the LPGA before, and I asked her, and she was kind of going back and forth for like a good 5-6 minutes, and I figured that one might be a direct one for you. You got anything, Bryce, that we missed there?
No, I think we're good. Hopefully, maybe see you at the Rocket Mortgage here.
Yeah, we'll have to come over and introduce ourselves. I do have to selfishly ask you, because I am a massive Mike Weir fan. Have you been able to kind of connect with him at all? Like being a fellow Canadian, I'm sure you guys have been out on kind of connecting at some tournament here or there.
Oh yeah, no. I know Wiersy pretty good. Yeah, every now and then, whenever the Leafs play the Red Wings, I'll kind of send a chirp. That's kind of the going thing with him and the Red Wings, or Dillette with the Flames. Anytime the Flames start to take a slide, I'll let Dillette have it. Fritsch is an easy target in Ottawa. I think they've been terrible for years, so there's always a good little back and forth between a lot of the guys. But yeah, no, Wiersy, I know Wiersy pretty good. I mean. Yeah. I don't talk to him much on the phone, but actually I had a chance to work for him years ago. It just wasn't the right fit at the right time. But we had talked about it to see if we could make it work, and it just wasn't. What I was doing. I felt like the guy that I was working for. I had some faith in him. I felt like he was he kind of had a shot, and he was a little bit younger. Wiersy was struggling, sort of late 40s, and it was, would have been a job for a year and a half to, kind of limp into the Champions Tour and go from there. And it wasn't, the timing wasn't right. But yeah, no, Wiersy, yeah.
But hey, man,
he's a good dude.
Wiersy's back, right? He's
back now.
He's playing well, and I don't know. I've been loving following his content. He's been on social media a little bit, so it's been great. Yeah. Ottawa's coming too, man. Like Ottawa is coming. I'm not an Ottawa fan, but I'm a Brady Tkachuk fan, and I'm so glad they got that signing done. And I'm a kind of fantasy guy, so Brady Tkachuk is a huge fantasy guy. So I'm glad that he's back. But just before we let you go, if anybody kind of wants to follow you on any of the socials, kind of check out any of your work that you're doing with Sungjae, anything in the past, can you kind of give a couple handles if you've got a minute?
Yeah, Instagram is Spencer Caddy 17. And I actually don't know what my Twitter account is, but I can look it up though.
That's okay. I will. I'll go ahead and I'll link it below if that's all right with you. If anybody wants to check it out. And Billy, I know you're from the area. I really appreciate you coming on. I'm so happy that you're having all the success that you're having, and I am genuinely a huge Sungjae fan. And congrats on your guys' recent win and all the success, and all the best to you guys. Hopefully, if you're down at the Rocket Mortgage, I'll come down and see Bryce, and we'll come introduce ourselves.
Yeah, no, perfect. Anytime, guys. I love to do this kind of stuff and help everyone out and do the thing. And yeah, absolutely, we'll set you guys up at Rocket or at the Canadian Open, hopefully.
Perfect.
Awesome. Thanks again for coming. Nice meeting you.
You got it, guys.
All right, Billy, take care.
He's out in my ball in the course, so I tee up. I lose the ball and I re-up. I miss a fairway, I probably end up in the ocean or maybe the beach. And I'm on a par 5 and I'm finna go reach it. Second was blind, I ain't see it. Feel like it might be an albatross.